My friends, muito obrigado. Stef Tsitsipas absolutely crushed by this loss to Dani Medvedev. And I think there's going to be more heartbreak potentially for a lot of Djokovic fans around the world. Sure, a lot of Djokovic haters are going to be very happy. But I have a bad feeling, and maybe it's because I just watched the last match Djokovic and Medvedev play. I just watched the 6-3, 6-3. It was close until 3-all. They have a long, almost a 12-minute game where Medvedev, Djokovic throws everything he has at Medvedev, and Medvedev ultimately breaks him down, and you kind of feel like Djokovic lost a little bit of belief. I mean, he really wasn't the same after that 3-all game where his serve is broken. But enough about that. We're going to talk about Djokovic and Medvedev in this show a lot, of course, but let's talk about Tsitsipas. First off, take a look at this. This is Tsitsipas in his press conference. I mean, you can hear it in his voice how rough of a loss this is. I meant to get to Serena Williams in yesterday's show, and I didn't, but I didn't get her. I forgot, sorry. But I'll tell you what my main point was. A lot of people were wondering, about Serena's reaction after the match, and they thought it meant she's going to retire. And what I thought it meant is that you could tell Serena's moving better. She lost weight. She's worked on her fitness a lot. And it felt like, I even thought watching Serena in earlier rounds, that maybe she was actually going to win this one, that she had done everything in her power to get herself ready to win, to, go all the way since having her baby. She hasn't been able to win a major. She's been so close. I thought she had the fitness level to finally do it. And then the way she lost to Naomi Osaka, which must have felt to her like she really wasn't in that match and didn't have as much of a chance as she would have thought she would have had to win that match. That's crushing, to feel like I've done everything. Sometimes people make excuses for themselves. In the back of your mind, you can think, well, I didn't succeed because, I haven't been working on my fitness that hard. If I would have done this, I would have had it no problem. You make excuses for yourself, and it makes it easier to deal with the losses. And I think Serena, in her own mind, felt like, well, I did all those things that I knew would have gave me the real chance to win, and yet I'm still not really that close. That's really hard to deal with mentally. So I think about Stef Tsitsipas in the same way here. He must have felt like after he beat Rafa Nadal the way he did it, that he's finally there, he's ready to take on anyone, and then to lose in the fashion that he did to Mr. Medvedev. Well, that's really hard to recover from mentally. Anyways, Pete Freeman from Crunch Time Coaching said a long time ago, years ago, that Medvedev has the potential to basically be Djokovic with a giant serve. I can't remember who he compared it to. Did he say John Isner? He might have at the time. Take a listen to Stef Tsitsipas breaking down Medvedev's game and what makes him so difficult to play against.
Let me tell you that he's a player who has unlocked pretty much everything in the game. It's like he has he's reading the game really well. He has this amazing serve, which I would describe close to John Isner's serve, and then he has amazing baseline, which makes it extremely difficult. So even if you return the serve, you don't guarantee that you're going to win the point. You have to really work hard for it. It's difficult. Obviously, it's not meant to be easy. Otherwise, he would be stuck at the futures level and not here. So he makes it extremely difficult, and I'm sure all the hard work that he has been putting and the hours on the court have benefited a lot. He tricks you, He plays the game really smart.
Pete Freeman said that first. Gotta say that. Anyways, I like the line here. He tricks you. He plays the game really smart. But listen to the nerves. To me, from the press conferences, Medvedev, Tsitsipas, the biggest deal to me is the difference where they talk about dealing with nerves. And I've got a lot of match notes that I took down during the Medvedev-Tsitsipas match, as I like to do them, these big, late stages of the majors, these big encounters. And we'll get to all that. But one thing I talk about in the match notes is how Darren Cahill is courtside, and he's pointing out that Stef Tsitsipas is extremely tight, so much so that he's mistiming every single ground stroke in the match because Patrick McEnroe and Chris Fowler, maybe Johnny, was it the three of them in that match? I can't remember. They're saying like, oh, it looks like Tsitsipas is mistiming the backhand. He's late on the backhand a lot. And Darren Cahill says, hey, I'm courtside. Let me tell you, he's late on every backhand and every forehand. Very tight. Listen to Stef Tsitsipas talk about the nerves of playing a Grand Slam semifinal.
It's a shame, you come so close, you work so hard, and everyone is dreaming of a Grand Slam victory. I mean, you don't think of it when you play the first week or the second week. As closer you reach towards the end, you're overwhelmed with many different thoughts, and your aspirations and your dreams suddenly are close to become a reality. I don't know, it might for him not be the same, but for me it means the world to be able to be where I am, and playing a semifinal is a difficult thing. I just need to find a way to get there and just be in the same state of mind, and I've proven that I have the level to beat these players. It's not that I haven't, but as Stan says, ever tried, ever failed, no matter, try again, fail better.
Very interesting to me how Tsitsipas says, when you're playing the first week of a major, you're not really thinking about winning the major yet. But as you get closer, playing a semifinal is a very difficult thing. What did he say exactly? I got to find a way to get there, meaning, get to the semifinal, which he did. And once there, maintain the same state of mind. I've proven I can beat these guys, as Stan says, try again, fail better. He quotes Stan Wawrinka. But very revealing to me, obviously Tsitsipas was extremely tight in this match. So much he could have done early on. And Medvedev said it in his on-court interview that he said, as soon as I sensed that Tsitsipas was looking a little tired in the first set, I immediately knew my game plan to run this guy all over the place, whatever. But also, what Medvedev didn't say, but I'm sure he was thinking, is as soon as I sensed that mentally Tsitsipas wasn't all there right now, right? The nerves were really changing him. He was like a different player, as Darren Cahill pointed out. If you take every single ball late and tentative, it's not going to work. You're not going to win a match unless you quickly get out of that. And it took Tsitsipas a long time to get out of that. You better believe Medvedev, who's a killer, he's an absolute killer, he sensed that too. Not just the physical stuff, but the mental weakness that was there. And, this happens. Guys can be really good, look very mentally tough, win a bunch of matches, look great, get this close to accomplishing their goal, and completely fall apart mentally. Steph did a lot of good things. He didn't completely, and not every aspect of his game fell apart, but enough to make it impossible for him to beat a guy like Medvedev. And again, it's so telling to me. Playing a semifinal is such a difficult thing. Is it a difficult thing to Naomi Osaka? Not really. She's never lost one. Is it a difficult thing to Roger Federer? Not in this way, at least. I got to find a way to get there and maintain the same state of mind. Listen to Medvedev talking about the same thing when they ask him about how he's going to deal with the nerves. They're specifically saying when you lost it a little bit, because the crowd was, again, pretty rude, actually. Pretty kind of borderline disgraceful crowd. What's his name? The brother of Kiathathong, the British tennis player. He had to get on the crowd pretty hard. I have it in my match notes. At one point he says, the crowd is booing him too. And he says, ladies and gentlemen, once again, it is great. And I remember he paused. He says, ladies and gentlemen, once again, it's great to hear you supporting your players. But please be fair to both players. And as Chris Fowler said, good luck with that. And then right after that, Medvedev hit an ace. He doesn't care. And you got to love and admire and respect the guy, because that's tough to do, to face down that crowd and basically not care. So they asked him, did you kind of lose your focus because of the crowd? And he said, yeah. But he said it's not just because of the crowd, because he said, when you play all the time with big crowds, and in his case, he means when they're mostly, rooting against you, you get used to it. But he said because of the lockdowns and the no crowd tournaments that they've been playing, he said it's been about a year since he had a crowd that big and that against him, that pro Tsitsipas, that anti-Medvedev. So it wasn't that the crowd bothered him. He It's just that he hadn't coped with that in a while, and he said you kind of forget, but he figured it out pretty quickly as he completely crushed Tsitsipas. I mean, early in the Tsitsipas press conference, he said everyone saw what happened out there. Everyone saw what happened out there. Tsitsipas is embarrassed. I mean, I feel for the guy. It's a really rough loss, and such a setback when you feel like you're doing everything great and you're so close to succeeding, and then to go through that. But I think it's mental. Anyway, so they ask Medvedev about that. And then they ask him more specifically about, is that going to help him deal with the nerves and the moments like that where you think, ooh, I'm this close to having a very big victory here when you play Djokovic and it's a bigger victory on the line, a Grand Slam win in the final tomorrow. Take a listen to Medvedev.
Tight moments. What do you do to prepare for them and how do you get through them?
For me, it's all about experience. So, for example, I played one Grand Slam final already. For sure was tight in many moments there. Sometimes it helped me, sometimes not. So I know what it is like, and I know what how it's going to be on Sunday. So experience is the key, and same. That's why I say I didn't have this experience with the crowd for almost a year. So these moments, they go away from your mind. And as you say, I had not a double breakpoint, but 2 breakpoints in 3-1. He played them good. I could have done a little bit better, but it's okay, it happens. Then, do one double fault, it's double breakpoint for him. Just missed an easy forehand because somebody was screaming behind me and missed it full in the net. And then it's 3-all, he plays better. That's what tennis is about, and that's why we like tennis also. But yeah, as you ask me, experience from the last Grand Slam final is going to be a big key to not get tight and to just play a game.
That's what tennis is about, and that's why we like tennis. This guy is embracing the pressure. Because the truth is, everyone's going to feel nervous, but not everyone is going to choke out there. And I can really speak to this because in my leagues that I've played, I've never made it past the quarterfinal stages, and I can tell you there's been one of the more recent times I was in a quarterfinal playing at the 4.5 level. I think this one is. I think I've been in quarters at the 5.0 level too, but I've done it at like every level from 3.0 all the way up. And every time I had a realistic shot the way I'd been playing all season long to win, and completely choked. One time I believe I was up this was a doubles. Actually, this was a semifinal. In singles, I never made it past a quarterfinal. But one time I was in a tournament semifinal in doubles. Me and my partner were up like 6-0, 4-1, and we lost. We lost because I completely choked, and they hit every ball to me, and I missed 90% of my shots because I let it get to me mentally. So let me tell you, when I get close to winning one of these tournaments that are very important to me, these tournaments here in Georgia, I've completely fallen apart mentally. So I know exactly what it feels like to go through that and what Tsitsipas is dealing with. And that's what tennis is about, and that's why we like tennis. I don't know if Medvedev was specifically talking about the crowd. Maybe he was, but I like to think that when he said that, he was talking about dealing with pressure because it looks like he embraces the pressure. And, of course, he talks about experience being key to not get tight and play your game. And when Tsitsipas says, I got to find a way to get there, get to the semis, and maintain the same state of mind, he's basically saying that he can't do it. He can't not get tight and play his game. That's the trouble that he's having. It's very obvious to him. It was very obvious to Darren Cahill sitting courtside talking about the tightness on the shots. And I hope he's able to get past that, like Stan, learn to fail better, and eventually win one of these things. I hope Steph can do it. He definitely has the talent to do it, but right now it's definitely a mental thing that's hurting him. Medvedev, though, he is kind of like Djokovic with it's not John Isner's serve. Let's just put that out there, obviously. But it's a very big serve, and it's getting very accurate. He hit a lot of aces. That was the crazy thing. In that moment where the crowd was so against Medvedev and it looked like maybe he was losing it mentally a little, what saved him in some big moments, he still was able to come up with big serves. And that's one thing I've noticed in my own playing experience is when you get tight, it's really easy to de-accelerate on a forehand or a backhand. But for me, at least, I can still go after big serves. And I know, well, if I'm very nervous, just smash that big serve. And they asked Medvedev in the presser, I think it was or maybe it was on court, but I remember it was a great response from Medvedev. He said, what do you do when you get nervous? He said, well, I tried to hit aces. I tried to hit big serves. So there you go. I mean, you got to love this guy and his attitude. But finally, take a look at this. Mr. Slice, again, is putting it up on his Instagram, which we love here because when you have the Instagram stuff around the video, it seems like the tennis people, they don't come after the channel. They don't come after and try to ban my videos as much because it's clearly something I'm taking from the Instagram. But remember this moment. This is when Medvedev kind of gave the middle finger to the crowd all over again. He taunts them after this shot a little bit, and it's great, and it was an incredible shot. Listen to Medvedev describing the shot in the press conference.
Yeah, kind of. I mean, as you say, they were mostly for him, and that was, the moment that I won the match, we should say. Of course, you have to serve after, but that was an important moment. So I wanted them to recognize me, I would say, because the shot was unbelievable. I think one of my best shots in my career, because my legs were facing the other way of the court because I didn't have time. So I have no idea how I made this, and I was really happy about it.
I wanted them to recognize me. The shot was unbelievable. My legs were facing the other way in the court. Well, you deserve a lot of credit for that shot, Daniil Medvedev. In the last video, we asked, we said, obviously, Medvedev owns Rublev now. It's a big deal mentally. When you feel like you own somebody, obviously, Medvedev kind of owns Tsitsipas mentally right now. We saw that in the match yesterday. And the question for me is, does Djokovic own Medvedev? No. I might argue Medvedev has a mental edge right now because of their last meeting. This is the Australian Open. Obviously, this is the spot for Novak Djokovic. So maybe that mental edge that Medvedev might have picked up from their last encounter at the World Tour Finals back in November might not apply here so much because Djokovic brings so much experience and confidence to this court. But he doesn't own Medvedev, that's for sure. I mean, if you throw out their first couple of meetings back in 2017, where's my head-to-head? Well, I don't have it. Put it on the screen for your sake. You can see it. Throw those out. I believe the head-to-head record will have Medvedev leading Djokovic 4-2. Is it 6-4 Djokovic leads or something like that? It's on the screen for you, so you know. But if you throw out those first two meetings, and Medvedev, as he pointed out in his press conference, I think he said back when he was ranked in the 60s, he took a set off of Djokovic in their first encounter, as you can see in a Davis Cup match. Then he loses straight sets on grass. That's all these guys. That's why no matter what's going on, I still think Federer on grass is going to have no problems dealing with some of these younger guys because they still haven't quite figured out how to move around on the grass court and how to play it. No fault to them. I mean, no one really practices on grass. It's kind of a rare thing because you only play like 1 or 2 tournaments on grass the entire year. If you throw out the first couple meetings, Medvedev has a leading head-to-head here. So if we're only counting the last few years, as we know, the younger guys coming up in the beginning, they're going to get destroyed by the big names when they first have their first few meetings. We see it all the time throughout tennis history when a legend plays an up-and-coming legend of the game, which Medvedev very well could be, especially if he finds a way to beat Djokovic tomorrow. Which, look at Mr. Slice's, he had a little poll on his Instagram. That's a big majority saying Medvedev is going to win. Maybe it's a bunch of Djokovic haters. They're going to say that whether they believe it or not because they wish it to be true so desperately. But I think Medvedev has a real shot when you throw that out. So my question was, does Djokovic own him mentally? No, absolutely not. And that's what's weird about this final. This is, and Dominic Thiem had some wins over Djokovic. So last year's final, Djokovic and Dominic Thiem, maybe a little similar in that regard, but I don't know. I think this is different. This is one of the first finals where we see a big 3 player going up against someone. This is literally the first. A big 3 player going up someone that he doesn't feel like has no business beating him. Djokovic knows that this is danger, and that's why I think we're going to see one of the greatest matches of all time tomorrow, potentially. This could be an epic, epic tennis match. Now, I asked you, I've been saying all along, we're going to find out if Djokovic's injury, how serious it is. It definitely was an injury. Maybe he played it up and was a little dramatic, made it look more serious than it really was. I think it was a fairly serious injury, but Djokovic does such a good job taking care of his body that he's able to recover from it. It's pretty much gone now, but I'm sure there could be something there, and you better believe if Djokovic is all of a sudden down 2-0 tomorrow, you might see him grabbing his abdominal, right? You might see him thinking about the injury again. But I just wanted to say, it's very real when you feel like you own somebody. When you feel like in the head-to-head, this is someone you'll never lose to. And it almost would make you mad if that person even comes close. You say, I'm not losing to this guy. I don't care what's going on. I own this guy. I'm going to crush him. Very real. That's why when Djokovic was most vulnerable with the injury stuff, it was against Milos Raonic, right after he beats Taylor Fritz and has the injury. The whole tennis world is wondering, is Djokovic going to pull out of the tournament? Of course he doesn't. He owns Milos Raonic. So that was where he was most vulnerable, but he wasn't because of the opponent. Against Zverev, it's a little bit of the same. Less vulnerable injury-wise. He had more time to recover, but with Sasha Zverev, it's kind of, Zverev is more dangerous, but at the same time, mentally, even though Zverev has beat him, blew him away at the World Tour final years ago, just like Medvedev just did recently, it's the same place, same kind of win, but still, I feel like Djokovic knows about all the mental holes in the Zverev game, especially with the serve and stuff like that. So Djokovic just knows in his mind that he's going to have his chances to take down Zverev no matter what the score is, no matter what's happening in the match. Zverev's going to lose it mentally. I don't think Djokovic feels this way about Medvedev. If he is feeling anything, you better believe he's a little worried about that, and he's more vulnerable here because now he's playing a guy who actually truly believes and is looking forward to it, to seeing if it comes true. The guy truly believes that he can beat Djokovic. And you better believe Djokovic is aware of that. That makes this match very, very interesting. Today on Coffee Break Tennis, I feel like we already did the whole show before the music even started playing. Like I said, it's very, very interesting. I'm excited to see this match. This is different. This is a whole different vibe going in. Djokovic knows. Medvedev knows. You know what I mean? He knows it. Everyone knows it. Everyone knows. Chalk flew up. Everyone knows this is going to be an incredible match. And if there is a blowout, I don't see Djokovic blowing Medvedev out. You almost see it going the other way. But have no fear, Djokovic fans. This is the last stand. This is where Djokovic is going to throw everything at him because of where we are. So I have a strong feeling. Fade the music out. We're not going to do too much more on the show today. I mean, I already pretty much previewed the entire final. But I do want to go through some match notes for Medvedev Tsitsipas. Obviously, Tsitsipas totally crushed. Mental setback. Hope he can fail better. Let's look at some of the matches. So here I wrote Darren Cahill courtside during the first set says Steph is late on almost every ball. Asked particularly about the backhand. That's my note there to say that Chris Fowler, McEnroe, whoever it was, saying, "Hey, Darren Cahill, you're courtside. Let us know. Is he late on the backhand? Is it just us, or does he look late on the backhand?" And Cahill said, "Yeah, he's late on every backhand and every forehand. Very, very tight." Patrick McEnroe noticed that the points are not very physical. And then my note here after that is, if you're Steph, you got to see if you can make Medvedev hurt physically, right? We saw him having to get his legs rubbed down. He was cramping in that win. He destroyed Rublev, but physically he started cramping up. You got to see if that's a possibility in this match. And like I said, not very physical points because Stef Tsitsipas was so tentative, and this happens all the time. I recently played a doubles playoff match where me and my partner noticed that the one guy who's beating us with a big forehand has virtually no backhand. His backhand was terrible. And we're like, just get it to that dude's backhand and we'll be in business. And guess what? Neither one of us could put a ball on his backhand. Part of it is because he was working hard to protect for his backhand. He was doing a lot of leg work to not hit backhands. But the other part was when you get that tight and you know it's so obvious, like, okay, hit this guy's backhand is terrible, and you just physically can't execute a shot that goes towards the dude's backhand. You either miss in the court to the forehand and get punished, or you just don't even hit the ball in because you get really tight thinking about, oh my God, we're getting destroyed, and there's such an obvious way out, and we both are so tight we can't even do it. So Stef Tsitsipas probably knows, make it more physical, test out Medvedev's legs. Let's see if we can get him to cramp. Tsitsipas couldn't hit any balls early on that were really making Medvedev have to like scramble around the court and play some hardcore defense. He was playing defense, yes, but it was always defense where he was winning the point pretty quickly. It wasn't the kind of defense where it's like, man, really making Medvedev work. And I think it's just Steph was so tight, he couldn't do it. He couldn't hit the shots that he knew, the shots he knew he needed to hit. Another thing I noted in the first set was Stef's not going to net. This is an advantage. We're on a fast court. Tsitsipas can use his net game. If he hits the right shots, comes in, do it early. Show Medvedev that this is a thing that might happen sometimes. Roger Federer would have done that, absolutely, if he was playing that match against Medvedev in the semifinals of the Aussie this year. God, wouldn't you rather have seen that match? Steph not going to net at all. Not setting up any ideal situation to go to net in the first place, I noted here. We see Stef Tsitsipas later in the match going to the net, but it was too late. And every time he did, you just felt like, oh, Medvedev is at the wall. He's 10 feet behind the baseline. Tsitsipas is going to the net. Medvedev is going to pass him somehow, just like that incredible shot where he taunted the whole crowd and basically gave them a finger again, except this is a little different, but the look on his play it again. Oh my God, it was amazing. I really like Tsitsipas, right? He was my pick, years ago to be the future. But now we're starting to see that there is a mental hurdle. Like Karatsev said, that what held him back all these years is the mental game. And yeah, it can be that strong. A guy that has the game to go to the semifinals and lose to Djokovic can be stuck in the minor leagues of tennis for years because of mental stuff. Tsitsipas, like I was saying, kind of reminds me of tournaments I've played in where I'm playing great, and then once I start getting close and thinking, as Tsitsipas said, you're so close to accomplishing your goal. Might sound silly to you, but to me, winning the local tournament here, they call it the city finals, the city championship trophy, that has been a very big goal to me going back to my early 20s. So well over 10 years. You get closer to it, you start thinking about achieving it, and then this is the problem, and this is what Tsitsipas didn't say that I wonder if he was thinking. You start thinking about blowing it. You don't think about achieving it. First you think about achieving it, and then you think about, I'm this close, what if I choke? And every time you do that, every time you choke one of these things away, again, I've done it at every level from 3-0 up to 5-0. Every time you choke one of these chances away, next time you're in that moment, you're back in the semifinals, quarterfinals for me, you think about the last one or the last two, or in my case, the last 7. And you think, what if I choke it away again? And it's very mentally tough not to do that. Medvedev happy to hit slow and low backhands to Stef Tsitsipas' backhand over and over again. I have a court graphic for you. Take a look. Look at all that traffic going right into the Tsitsipas backhand. One thing they talked about was saying that Tsitsipas needs a little time to get used to this backhand. Medvedev's backhand, very low and can be very deep and very accurate, difficult to deal with there. And they were pointing out, commentators, how Tsitsipas might need a little time to figure that thing out. In set 2, I note that Medvedev started missing forehands, but the serving was still outstanding, hitting the spots, and Steph still taking the ball late, missing a lot of forehands and backhands. So when you serve like that, that's key. That's something Rafa and Djokovic haven't always had, and that's what sets Medvedev apart a little bit. Obviously, they are legends, and Medvedev has no majors yet, but he's going to get some, and he might get one tomorrow. So again, when your ground game starts to fall apart, if you can come up with the big serves, and this has been big for Federer over the years, right? We've seen, maybe Nadal and Djokovic can be more rock solid off the ground, no matter what's going on emotionally, than Federer at times, but that serve has saved Federer, and then you find the forehand again. You find the backhand again when you get some free points on that serve. So, and Medvedev's serve is obviously a little bigger, and he's starting to hit the spots really, really well. If he gets better at serving, Medvedev is going to start beating everyone, especially on hard courts. That's the key there. One thing I wrote in set 2 was, I'm starting to realize that only players with Federer-like hand skills, just raw talent in the hands, feel for the ball. Kyrgios, Medvedev. Sure, Fed combines that with perfect technique at the net. Think about Kyrgios, sloppy at the net, but the hand skills, he still has a lot of success up there. Medvedev is not your, his technique is a little different, right? But his feel is top-notch, and he absorbs pace better than anyone. And that's a very valuable thing to do, especially at this level where the guys hit with a lot of pace. Set 3, first rally, still sticking to the game plan. Meds baits the Tsitsipas backhand and then eventually leans in for the backhand down the line winner. We saw this a lot. You got this backhand coming cross court to the Tsitsipas one-hander. Over and over again, Medvedev is pinning him in that corner, and then Medvedev will take one hard up the line, and it's so hard to read Medvedev's little backhand. You don't know which way he's going to go until it's too late a lot of times, and when he takes that thing up the line, Tsitsipas moves really well, defends really well. Obviously, Djokovic, even better. But still, I think you pin that guy in that backhand corner, and then when you disguise that backhand up the line so well, it doesn't matter how well you move. If you don't anticipate it and you see it a little late, you're not going to get there. And even if you do, you're pretty much toast at that point. I wrote here, I start describing the crowd. I think we've already talked about it enough. We've heard people talk about it. I told you earlier how the umpire had to warn everyone to, it's nice that you're rooting for Tsitsipas, but let's not be extremely disrespectful. Someone shouted, Medvedev actually said it in his presser, someone shouts right before he swings on a forehand and he misses it. I note all that stuff happening here, and I say the crowd is so against Medvedev, all they needed was a break back to go nuts. Tsitsipas breaks back. They go crazy, more noticeably cheering when he misses a first serve. I note the umpire and the crowd booing the umpire. And one thing I say here is, as the ground game falls apart for Medvedev, because he started missing forehands especially, but some backhands too, his serve really saves his ass, is what I wrote down here in the moment as I was watching that match. After holding serve at 4-all, Tsitsipas playing well, but Medvedev lights up a couple laser-like shots for clean winners, and his ground game is back just in time. Steph is dictating play with the forehand and going after his shot. He's going to net more on better things to set up his play at the net, but it's way too late. Amazing. At 2 hours and 23 minutes into the match, Medvedev hits that shot. He taunts the crowd after coming up with a hell of a shot. An incredible game. The way he's so far back and Steph is coming to net, you just know that Medvedev is going to find a way to win. And that's how Tsitsipas must have felt. That's how I felt at that point. You came to net too late. You started going after your forehand and trying to control the rallies and dictate play. Too late, Tsitsipas. And we know why. It was mental. He even admitted it in his presser. The backhand is a sneak attack laser from Medvedev. You can't tell where it's coming from, and the next thing you know, it's low and fast up the line. And that's about it for the match notes. So I think we've broke down that match pretty effectively. Will Tsitsipas ever be able to play Medvedev again and not remember this kind of a match? I think so, especially if it's a lower stakes match. And as Tsitsipas said, there's hope, because he said, I know I can beat these guys. I've proven that I can play the level to beat these guys. Just got to find a way to get to the semifinals and keep that same feeling, that mental approach where he is winning, keep it in the semifinals. All right, a couple things on, do I have anything else here? Enough with that. We're going to get out of here, hit the music. We'll be back. I don't know how soon, because depending on who wins, I've got a couple projects that I've thought up for a Medvedev win and a Djokovic win. A Djokovic song that I actually made. I didn't record the song, but I wrote the lyrics out back at the French Open when everyone thought he might beat Rafa Nadal. So I got a little work. We might not have a show till Monday, maybe even Tuesday. Depends how long it takes me to record the song or whatever I end up doing if Medvedev wins. But we will be back. Like I said, this is a very interesting match. Djokovic knows that Medvedev believes he can do it. Djokovic knows Medvedev can do it. And Djokovic is going to make his last stand here. He's going to go for it at his favorite place. That's worth a lot. Medvedev said, he has everything to lose and not me. And there's truth to that. And it's very ballsy, admirable mental toughness from Medvedev to even say that. But Djokovic is going to throw everything he has at him. And even though I've been saying it all tournament long, we're going to find out if the injury, how serious it is. Well, now we're really going to find out, because we got a guy with the game, and more importantly to me, we got a guy who truly believes he can do it. Get ready for a hell of a final that we have coming up, and I look forward to speaking with you after it's all said and done. See ya!